presentation. So good afternoon, everyone, and I have the privilege to be hosting today's seminar on behalf of our regular host, who is currently on leave. And today we are privileged to have somebody in the field that is key to bioinformatics. And one of the key focus areas of H3A Bionet is education and training of the next generation of scientists in the computational field. And so today we have Angelique Trusler, who is the regional consultant for Southern Africa at the Carpentries, and she aims at developing strategies and workflows to adapt the Carpentries membership and workshop programs to function optimally in Southern Africa. In addition, her role aims to assist and advise in developing plans to create and support a strong team of volunteers instructing across the region. So I'd like to formally welcome Dr. Angelique Trusler to begin her presentation.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Wisdom. I do appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Maybe you can just write in the chat if you can see it. If at any time I want to say the Zoom feed becomes a bit wonky, just let me know and I'll put my video off, but I would like to show myself to you. Hello, I'm Angelique. Nice to meet you all. Right, Wisdom, if you are ready, I am ready.
Yes, proceed.
Perfect. Righto. Right. Again, thank you for that wise and very welcome, warm welcome to H3A Bionet. Very excited to be here today. As Wisdom has mentioned, my name is Angelique and I'm the regional coordinator for the Carpentries in Southern Africa. So anything Carpentries related, I'm your go-to person. I will give you my contact information later on, but I would like to share it now to Angelique at carpentries.org. And I am here to tell you a bit more about our software data and library carpentry programs. Let me get my presenter view open here. Luckily for Zoom meetings, we can have script notes. So just an overview of what we will be doing the next couple of minutes. We will first have a look at the global view of the Carpentries. I would like to take you a journey from what do we do around the globe? What does a global community look like? We're going to be chatting about us being a nonprofit organization, our 3 core curricula, how we host workshops and instructor training. And then I would like to hone into the continent. What are we doing at the Carpentries in Africa? I would like to have a brief look over development in time, the African initiatives we're currently busy with, as well as upcoming communities in Africa. All right, but before we start there, I like doing a bit of an icebreaker. So I would like you to go to www.menti.com and use the code 583-75575. And I want you to answer the following question and keywords. I think you can give about 3 different words. What do you think of if you hear open science? So it's www.menti.com. And the code is 58375575. So I'm going to show on the screen what you are adding. Let's quickly have a look. There should be a small delay. Oh, accessible. Yeah, I'm loving this. Hello. For those of you who joined us, we're doing an icebreaker at the moment. We are on www.menti.com with the code in the chat, and we are answering the question, if you think of open science, what do you think of? So we're saying accessible, transparent. Oh, accessible is growing. It means there's many instances of that. Transparent, available, findable. That's great. Let's give it a couple of seconds more. I see we had 3 submissions. We have a couple more to go. Right. So if we think about open science, we think about open access. We think about software that is open to all to use, who's for what's free, like R, Python, OpenRefine, Google Spreadsheets, etc., etc. So while you will come and visit this again just now, those of you who are just joined the call just to find your way to Menti, let's hop back onto my other slide deck. And this is what the Carpentries is all about. We're all about open science, open access, everything we are doing. I think Zoom is one of the few things we pay subscriptions to. So we make use of all collaborative documents that are free, Etherpads. I don't know if you're familiar with the term. We make use of R, Python, GitHub, etc., etc. So let's jump into the rest of my slide deck, and I hope you enjoyed this little icebreaker. So the Carpentries is a not-for-profit. And when I say not-for-profit, I mean we do it to grow the base of scholars and researchers like you in the room with regards to data science and foundational coding skills. And I have mentioned this, but just for clarity, we use open software, for instance, R, Python, spreadsheets, OpenRefine, and Git. We further aim to build community and local capacity for teaching and sharing these skills and the related perspectives. If we continue on, I would like to take us through a brief history of the Carpentries. And I hope you can see this on your screen at home, but I'll try and talk to you. Now, Software Carpentry was founded in 1998 by Greg Wilson and Brent Gorda to teach researchers better software development skills. And that, I wanted to say, right through in 2014, developed in various ways. We got funding from the Python Software Foundation. We got more funding in 2012 from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And the first Software Carpentry for librarians was organized in the US and Canada in 2013. In 2014, Data Carpentry was founded by a grant from the National Science Foundation. And in 2015, Data Carpentry workshops were scaled by the grant offered to us by the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. 2018, Software Carpentry and Data Carpentry merged together with Library Carpentry into a bigger project called The Carpentries. And this is where we are currently today. And obviously we're not here, we wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for our very generous funders, and you can see a list at the bottom there, and the support of them is immense. We are looking at the stats for June 2021 when preparing the slide deck earlier this month. It might be a little bit higher by now, but it will give you an idea of we almost run 3,200 workshops since 1998. We have trained almost 3,300 instructors, and all our instructors are volunteers. So they volunteer their time to teach the Carpentries material. And we'll talk a bit about the material in a bit. And we have taught almost 80 or 79, it's almost 80,000, right? 79,000 learners across the globe. If we look at the offerings of the Carpentries, we have 3 core curriculum projects, I would like to call them. You can also think of them of different schools. We have Software Carpentry, Data Carpentry, and Library Carpentry. And if we zoom into each of these, we'll see that Software Carpentry is more domain independent. So the audience here is researchers who need to program more effectively. So making use of a software program and adapting it to their needs for their research purposes. Data Carpentry is very domain specific. We have programs in ecology, genomics, GIS, social science, etc., etc. And the audience here is researchers who are dealing with significant data. Now, the commonalities among Software Carpentry and Data Carpentry is that it's very research-focused computational skills. The last of the three projects is called Library Carpentry, and also the newest project. And the audience we target here is people in library and information related roles. And the domain focus is on museums and archives, collections and information support services. Generally, I want to say pre-COVID, we used to run 2-day workshops. However, post-COVID, that it's all depending on how available we are online, and we're very flexible around that. But I want to mention that even though we hit a pandemic, our volunteers still jumped in and they signed up to teach carpentry related workshops, and this is amazing. And the main aim of the 3 schools or the 3 programs that I mentioned, software carpentry, data carpentry, and library carpentry, is that we address gaps in computational skills. Now, just to zoom in a little bit on the different programs that we have, I want to say curriculum, we have under the 3 programs is in data carpentry, we have ecology lessons, genomics lessons, geospatial lessons, and social science lessons. Library carpentry, we have a generalist core curriculum at the moment. And around software carpentry, we have what's called all workshops, where we pull everything together, all the information. We have a plotting and programming in Python lesson. We have a programming in Python lesson, programming in R lesson, R for reproducible scientific analysis. And something that I'm very excited about to tell you is our incubator. Now, our incubator is for individuals who like to develop new lessons to eventually be taught at the Carpentries. So we literally incubate them. We help the maintainers and the developers grow them from grassroots level right up to where they can be alpha tested and then subsequently beta tested once feedback has been incorporated, and then be offered as another lesson program at the Carpentries. If we move on, our curriculum focuses on software and research development practices. And when I speak about software development practices, the things that come to mind is automating repetitive tasks. Let's say you would like to change in your genomics data set variable names, and you have 10,000 of them, and it's literally copy and paste. But now part of the lesson is to automate repetitive tasks, transforming step-by-step workflows into scripts or functions, and using version control to collaborate and manage code properly. Now, I always say, I wish I knew about version control when I was doing my postgraduate studies, because I remember walking into my master's program with a flash drive, and when the flash drive gave in, there was all my master's newest documents, and luckily we had my supervisor at a backup. But from then onwards, I use version control and backups and the cloud. And this is where I wished I knew of the Carpentries even sooner. Now, around data analysis and research practices, we look at what can we do around data and when we have to repeat analysis. We develop a data management and analysis plan. We improve data management and project organization. We use tools like R and Python for efficiency in working with data and how to reuse code. So on a very high level, this is what our software carpentry and data carpentry and library carpentry lessons all entail. We furthermore focus on building skills and our community. We teach skills and perspectives and build communities through peer-to-peer, 2-day traditionally. However, at the moment, it's between 4 and 5 days of online morning teachings during intensive workshops. Our volunteer instructors go through a training called Instructor Training event, which I would speak about, well, I'm going to speak about in a bit. And our lessons are all open and collaborative. And if I say open and collaborative, I want you to think about what you said in the Mentimeter poll. It's accessible, it's transferable, it's open, meaning that even if you're not a Carpentries instructor or you're not teaching a Carpentries lesson, you can use the lessons already created at the Carpentries as a foundation for what you would like to do in your own teachings. It's called Creative Commons license, which means it's free to use. All you need to do is acknowledge that this material was developed by lesson developers at the Carpentries. Right. Now I would like to just hone a little bit in what our workshops look like. And I always have a nice slide about the 2-day workshops and how we run 2-day workshops. However, this is not applicable at the moment. So I would like to hone into more what we have been doing during the pandemic at the Carpentries in Africa. So we have fully transitioned to online technical workshops. Back in May 2020, I had the COVID-19 response task force at the Carpentries, and what resulted there was a recommendations for teaching Carpentries workshops online. These are tips and tricks, how we can take the curricula and our pedagogy which was developed for in-person teaching, and how we can translate that into our online settings. In South Africa, we took these recommendations and we piloted a 3 full-day workshop. These days were very long. The students were really exhausted and the instructors were more so exhausted. We had many installation issues. You can imagine online not being able to walk over and assist someone if you cannot install Python or R. And it was too much, too fast for them to take in. So through this pilot workshop, we looked to our learners for feedback. We said, please help us understand how we can make this easier for you. And this resulted in a 5-day, a 9 to 1 p.m. workshop, where we take regular breaks. For every 50 minutes taught, there's 10 minutes break. We have stickies for continuous feedback. I'm not seeing my stickies on my table, but sticky notes. We use them usually in person, but if you have a look in your Zoom, I'm gonna try and show you. Oh, I'm not seeing but you can see my little reaction on my screen at the moment. And we make use of these reactions to support us being collaborative, because we're not necessarily in the position to share our screens. We don't necessarily want to unmute ourselves and speak. So we use other ways to collaborate with each other, because the Carpentries pedagogy is all about collaboration and working together and learning together. We use the Zoom chat for questions. We share our screens if we need help. And we have a screen setup that helps learners like us all set our screens up perfectly if we don't have a second screen. Currently, what resulted from the task force I mentioned earlier, we had the recommendations for online teaching, and what we found is not all our instructors were ready to teach online. So we scheduled a 3-hour bonus module that certified instructors can partake in to upskill themselves into teaching online, and we incorporate a supporting instructor role. Another word for them, I call them as a Zoom DJ, someone who does the technical stuff, creating breakout rooms, muting individuals when they might be accidentally unmuted, managing the chat for questions, etc. Pretty much what Wisdom is doing at the moment. So Wisdom, you're doing a great job as a Zoom DJ. Moving on to how Carpentries instructors are trained. The Carpentries workshops are taught by trained volunteers who will complete an instructor training program. Such programs teach instructional pedagogy and the practicalities of teaching a Carpentries workshop. So what it takes to run a Carpentries workshop. These instructors join our global community, sharing lessons, teaching tips, and practices with each other. We continue mentoring these instructors at regional level and a global level. I'll speak a bit more about what we do at the regional level to support instructors. And as the curriculum changes and as more lessons come to play from our incubator, we address those needs from the instructors as well. So you can see we'll start with an instructor trainer, and we will train instructors then. Instructors will then go and host Carpentries workshops. Now, as promised, and with no further ado, what are we doing at the Carpentries in Africa? A bit of a timeline for you just to see how we have developed. In 1998, I'm just reminding, software carpentry developed. So in 2013, the first workshop in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, was a software carpentry workshop, and it was hosted at the University of Stellenbosch in the Western Cape. 2016, we held our first instructor training workshop at the Northwest University's Potchefstroom campus. And in 2017, we had our inaugural meetup for the African Carpentries community. I'm going to speak a bit more about that later and how you can get involved in the African Carpentries community if you wish to do so. 2018, we hosted our first regional conference, which is called Carpentry Connect Johannesburg. And in 2019, my role was appointed the regional consultant. 2020, after we shut down and we locked down, we piloted online workshops. And what we are doing this year is we are adding to Carpentry Connect South Africa, the first virtual event of the sort in South Africa. And I'm going to speak about that in a couple of slides. I like adding some stats so you can just see where we are growing. And you can see that since 2018 and 2021, there's a slight dip in workshops. COVID did not help, but 2021, we're halfway through the year and we are already equal to the total of 2020. So this is great news. It means that we have successfully adopted online workshops and we hopefully going to surpass the numbers of 2019. In total, since 2018, we have hosted 133 workshops on the continent. Most workshops you can see has been hosted in South Africa. However, Ethiopia has skyrocketed in 2018. I see Somalia, we had a workshop. Kenya, we've had workshops. Ghana, we have had workshops. Excited to host another workshop in Botswana. So if you're looking to host workshops, please reach out to me. I'll give you my contact details in a bit again. Badged instructors per nationality. And this is where it gets really interesting. In total, on the continent with 86 badged instructors. The bulk being in South Africa, Kenya, and Ethiopia, and Nigeria strongly suit. And these are up and coming communities in Africa as well. With further ado, this is the regional conference we are organizing currently. It's going to be hosted from online from 6 to 17 September 2021. It's going to be run over 2 weeks virtually. We're going to be running 2 carpentries workshops, 1 data carpentry, 1 library carpentry. We're going to be hosting 1 carpentry instructor event. We're running 2 online networking sessions and 1 keynote address. For those of you who would like to read a bit more about that, I'm sharing a link in the chat. Please feel free to sign up for any of the networking events or any of the events that matter. It'd be great to have you there and join you into the Carpentries in Africa. Furthermore, around African community initiatives, we run a monthly African Carpentries meetup every 4th Thursday of the month, which will then be tomorrow, 12 p.m. South African time and Central African time. We virtually meet up and we share skills, practical lessons for teaching carpentries workshops. A lot of our sessions have been dealing about how to teach online workshops and transitioning our material from in-person to online, as well as skill up events, GitHub, using that, using Markdown in GitHub, how to create Git pages, etc., etc. Very interesting, and I'm giving you a sneak peek. We're having someone from the UK speak to us about using Raspberry Pis to teach carpentries lessons, and they're looking for collaborators in the continent. So please join us if you feel that's something you would be interested in. I will share a link in the chat. There we go. We appointed a regional consultant myself who develops the region and volunteer instructor base. We have the South African Center for Digital Language Resources, which is a big, I want to say, supporter of the Carpentries in Africa. They funded South African workshops over the pandemic and this year. And even in the pandemic, they were able to provide students with mobile data to attend workshops during the pandemic. Now, my passion project, Glossary, I need to tell you more about this, and I think you're going to love this. Glossary is an open access, multilingual data science, I want to call dictionary. I'm going to share the link for you in the chat. I'm bombarding you with links at the moment, but I'll share them all with wisdom to circulate again once this call is done. What we do here is there's a list of data science and programming terms, and the community jumped in and started translating them in various languages. And on the continent, currently, we have 3 languages we are busy translating in. Just to keep in mind, these are all volunteers who take maybe time over their lunch break and translate and add it into GitHub so the database is updated. The translations in Afrikaans, isiZulu and Amharic, which is the mother tongue in Ethiopia, or one of the languages in Ethiopia. If you have any suggestions at any time for any languages you would like to add, or if you would like to get more involved in this, please email me, Angelique@carpentries.org. Lastly, we have a great supporter in OpenCider. OpenCider is an organization that aims to create resources for effective knowledge transfer and to build inclusive communities. However, what they are very, I want to say, concerned with is how do we run virtual events in low bandwidth instances, such as Africa? How can we make it easier for individuals to collaborate virtually, even though they might not have very strong or fiber internet, even internet for that matter as a whole. You can also just Google OpenCider. They have a bunch of resources on their website. Now, I have alluded to this a bit earlier when we were looking at the statistics. Upcoming communities in Africa include Ethiopia, the Research Data Alliance. West Africa is the Women in Wakran. Kenya, the Bioinformatics Hub of Kenya, and Ghana, we have a bunch of independent instructors running workshops at the moment. So if you would like to get involved with any of these communities, pop me an email. I can introduce you. If you would like to add to any of these communities, you can also pop me an email. I would love to get to know you better and see how I can support you from a Carpentries perspective. So we would like to invite you to join the Carpentries community. We have various ways for you to volunteer, from becoming an instructor, a lesson developer, joining community calls, sharing your wisdoms with us. But I would like to further extend my invitation for the Carpentries African call, which is every 4th Thursday. You do not need to be a Carpentries instructor to join the call. We would love to hear your voices, to hear what you are doing currently in H3A Bionet around online teaching, and we can chat about different tips and tricks of the trade. So if you need to get hold of me, my email's on the screen. It's Angelique@carpentry.org. If you'd like to schedule a meeting with me, calendly.com/Angelique_V. Twitter handle is @the_Carpentries. And if you would like to read more about South Africa and the African Carpentries community, you can have a look at carpentry.org/regions_ZA. I'll share all this info with wisdom to distribute to you as well. So I have said many things and I've spoken a lot. So I would like to hand you back to wisdom and ask if any of you might have any questions for me.
Wow, thanks very much. That's an in-depth information, quite educative. I have heard a lot about the Carpentries. Unfortunately, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to listen to anybody speak to us, or me in particular, about the Carpentries. This is a lot of information. Thanks very much for speaking to us. I think now, if there's anybody who has any clarifications or more questions to ask, the floor is open now. Maybe I should take the first question.
Go ahead, wisdom.
Yes, so you have this whole lot of learners who are coming in. How do you assess the impact you're making? Because with the numbers that are running, I saw somewhere about 3,000, over 3,000 workshops. How have you assessed the impact of this? And do you track the learners to know what do they do after all of this?
This is a great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So embedded in we have a website template, which we use in GitHub, and you can replicate for every workshop. And what I want to say, infrastructure magicians are doing, they embedded pre and post workshop surveys within the website. So when we start a workshop, we will give a link of the pre-workshop survey to the learners, and they'll complete it. And think of this as a pre-check-in where you are in a skills level. So we would ask, how comfortable are you writing a script in R? Similar type of questions are asked. And a similar questionnaire or survey is asked at the end of the workshop. And this will then allow us to do comparisons between where the learners were and where they feel they are right now. And we have something called the Longitudinal Survey. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see if I can find the link for you. Long-term survey. Very interesting. We survey individuals every year around their experience with the Carpentries, and we publish this. So I would like, oh, there we go. I'm seeing information here. So I'm going to share the link to our assessment page, and you'll find the report right there if you'd like to read more about our impact and how we track long-term, longitudinally, learners that participated in Carpentry's workshops.
Great, great, great. So is there any other person who has some questions or clarifications? I see Tamla says, great talk, very informative.
Thank you so much.
Any further clarifications? So when and how do you recruit these instructors across the year?
That's great. So we recently working with the team from H3A Bionet, and we are hosting an instructor training event Monday next week to, well, Thursday, Friday-ish, depending how far we get the curriculum. And we generally advertise them on Eventbrite as well as Twitter, but generally the African Carpentries Meetup is where we share announcements and informations around this. But if you would like to receive a mailing, well, add yourself to a mailing list around the Carpentries in Africa and what we are doing, you can go ahead and you can join this mailing list. I pasted it in the chat. Here you'll see any upcoming instructor training opportunities, any teaching opportunities, and this is a way how we get volunteers as well. So let's say, for instance, you have signed up for instructor training and you went through the training process and you would like to sign up for a teaching opportunity now. This mailing list will show you where you can sign up. It will tell you about any funding opportunities in the continent. It will tell you about the Carpentry Connect conference we are currently hosting. Also, if you would like to become an instructor, there are some open seats at Carpentry Connect. Please pop me an email because there is a code that you will need for application to the event. So Angelique at carpentries.org, if you feel, I know there's a bunch of soon to be instructors next week. However, I'm sure that we can accommodate anyone if possible. I'll speak to the organizers of H3A Bionet's instructor training as well, just to make sure that we're all aligned. But I would also like to invite you to first attend a data carpentry or a library carpentry workshop, which we are also hosting at Carpentry Connect the first week, I think 6 to 10 September. This will give you a great idea of the content, and it will also give you a good indication if becoming a carpentries instructor is something that you would like to do. So jump into the community, sign up on the mailing list, join our meetups, and if you feel comfortable in our community, great. We have a code of conduct that we run all our sessions on. Basically, the code of conduct indicates that we treat each other with a respectful manner, and we do have, I want to say, a committee that will assist if you feel unsafe at any time, as just some positive way of just making sure you feel safe and feel good when you join Carpentries related events.
Great, great. Thanks very much. Still looking out to see if there are any hands or some questions.
Winfred has a question.
Yes, so he said, great talk. I'm wondering, with the poor bandwidth in Africa, how do you facilitate those from very inaccessible areas? Mostly only those within some research institutions and universities with stable internet are able to follow up on the online workshops closely. Yep.
That is a great question. Thank you so much, Winfred, for posting that. So in instances where you're not at a research institution or university and you do have a stable internet connection on your mobile phone and you're able to tether, we do try our utmost best to sponsor mobile data. However, in the event that this does not happen, this is where we try and do our Carpentries workshops async, which would be then offline. The Carpentries website for the lessons can be downloaded as HTML and PDF files, where you can then on your own work through the lessons. We do have a Slack channel for the Carpentries, where if you at any time would have any questions about the Carpentries at all, and you can install that in your mobile phone. If you at some time have access to the internet, you can ask the global community to jump in and support you. But as I alluded to earlier, our colleagues in the UK are looking into how we can add Carpentries workshops, lessons, training events on Raspberry Pis. And they're piloting this and seeing how we can make it fully reliant on, well, non-reliant on any internet access. So watch the space. Hopefully I can come back and tell you more about that in the future.
Great, thanks once more. Further questions? Sometimes it takes time to. Okay, this is great. Thanks, Angelique. Could you share the Slack channel link?
I am going to do that right now. So can I ask you rather, Winfred, to pop me an email, because I will need to invite you via your email address. So any of you who would like to join the Carpentry Slack community, I want to say, please pop me an email, angelique@carpentries.org, and I can make sure that you get access to that. And then I will make sure that you get a link to join it, because it is, I want to say, just to keep Zoom bombers out, we kind of follow that route. Thank you so much, Winfred. Looking forward to your email.
Any further questions? Sometimes it takes time to type. Or
no problem at all.
Want to? We have. Okay, I do not see any other question coming up, and I do not see any hand. So I think we would have to wrap up here. I'm most grateful on behalf of the H3A Bionet webinar coordinators, and of course the PI. Would like to thank you for taking your time to give us this in-depth discussion on the work you are doing across the continent and across the world. We're most grateful for this information. I, in particular, this is my first time of getting this much information about the Carpentry, and I'm really, really excited. Certainly, I will have to reach out for more information. And thank you to all of you who have also made time to listen to her, and have a very wonderful time, and hoping that our next webinar will be in July. Hopefully, we would have the announcements coming out, and we expect more of you to come in. And thank you very much once again, Dr. Trusler.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, and hope you have a lovely day, and hope you are healthy and safe.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. And a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.